Sorry, I was out of character. I didn't. New character, please.
There's a lot of research. The flow might not be there because I did plan it last week, so I can't quite remember what I've written.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Also, I'm back.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I feel like it's been a while. Apologies for last week. I'm here now.
We're missed.
How do people film podcasts?
They usually have setups.
They usually have studios. We don't have a studio. Is anyone renting a studio for free?
Is anyone giving a studio for free?
And podcast equipment. Hit us up.
Yeah, we need to work with what we have right now. Oh, can you pass me my coffee quickly? Just want to sip. Thank you, kind sir.
Oh, it's a coffee cup like that.
Thanks, Mom. Hello, munchkins.
Oh, yeah.
And welcome to episode 8. What did we want to call it?
What's this about?
You had a good idea.
You versus you.
Yeah, UVU.
UVU.
A competitive mindset. Quick overview
Of the week. You kick us off. How's your week been?
Not been great. It's not been great.
Unanimous opinion.
I'm going through a rough patch in my training, very much so, and that's due to various factors that I do not wish to disclose. So it's just been, I've not been in a very good flow, but I know that I just need to keep showing up and eventually it will pass, which is what I've been doing. It's just a bit long, really. It's a bit demotivating, not even a bit demotivating, it's very demotivating, but you got to do what you got to do. You just need to keep showing up, and eventually one day it will click back into place. But yeah, just external factors not doing me any favors, let's say that. What about you?
I mean, you've been here with me this whole week. And yeah.
It's been a very odd week.
It's been odd. It's been very tough.
So apologies if we seem a bit flat. Also, again, this is like within an hour of me properly waking up. And I don't particularly like to speak in the mornings.
It's not the morning though, it's literally the afternoon already.
No, it's one.
I spent my morning battling Excel.
I set alarms. It's not like I didn't set the alarms. I set multiple alarms going from 8:30 a.m. to 9 every 5 minutes. Slept through every one of those. And then I guess I came into my room because we've like blocked out a slot to record this from 12 to 1. It's 1:07. She came into my room at 11:30 going, we're meant to record the pod now, which isn't great from me, but onwards and upwards, I guess, because yeah.
I feel like okay. Shall we get on with it?
Yeah, I think I don't.
Overview of the week.
There's not really an overview, to be honest.
Nothing special. Like, it's been a tough week for us both.
So this episode is about competition. I've got the most amount of notes regarding like references and stuff that an episode has had. So I'm hoping it's very content heavy in like a good way. But I reckon we start with our personal opinions, then we go on to the research, and then we add our personal opinions to the research. And we also had quite a lot of responses for the You Say section, so we're very grateful for that.
This is the one we posted, by the way, about a week ago.
Yeah.
And we're actually, yeah.
Well, it would be 2 weeks now. No, it wouldn't.
A lot more responses than last time, which was really positive and fun to see that you guys are engaging. So don't leave them to fly around.
I'm just gonna suffocate it. Okay. So how has your attitude towards competitions changed from when you were younger to now?
Do you want to answer first?
I don't know. I don't really think I registered gymnastics competitions as actual competitions because they happened so often, like they were almost every weekend, that it just became part of a routine. Because we'd have one, like there were periods of the time within the year where they'd be every weekend and you just travel to different places. So it just became kind of, you train throughout the week, you compete on the weekend. It wasn't anything that you'd particularly look towards as a competition. Like obviously there were the more important ones, but a lot of the ones we did weren't as important. They were just kind of practice. So I don't really think I'd register them as competitions. I don't know, there was just a lot going on during them. Like nationals, there was so much going on. I remember the venue, it was so chaotic. Like people crying left, right and centre because they messed up. Like, so you have so many judges in front of you. There's about 14, I think. I think it changed because when they changed the rules, it changed the amount of judges. Then you'd have your coach, like in the back, there'd be, for example, at nationals, there'd be 2 carpets where you like moved the closer you are to your performance time. There'd be like 5 gymnasts on one carpet, then like 2 or 3 on the next carpet. In the back, there was literally everyone just warming up and practicing. It was really chaotic. And I couldn't really pinpoint an emotion for you guys.
But were you like stressed for them?
I reckon I was, but I don't think I was stressed on the day. I was more so stressed the day before, or like when we were getting ready because you had to do hair, makeup. Like I was more stressed when we were preparing ourselves at home or in the hotel because we travelled quite a bit. I think once you got to the venue and you started warming up, you couldn't really be stressed because everything moved so badly. Like it wasn't very organised and there was a lot going on, so you didn't really have the space to be stressed on the day. So all the stress came before.
I get you, but at the same time, it's interesting how people deal with like stress in chaotic environments because we are very different.
Yeah.
I feel like are more calm in a stressful environment, whereas a stressful chaotic
I thrive
environment
under pressure.
Yeah, but for me, it just made me even more stressed. Everyone's like
like you have all the clubs
running around on the carpet.
Yeah,
like, I can't even practice in peace, and that made me even more stressed.
Yeah, to be fair, each club. I'm just thinking back to nationals because that's the best one that like sticks in my brain as a competition, because all the other ones were kind of nationals and Canterbury are the 2 that stuck in my brain the most in terms of competitions. But you'd get like the tiniest bit of space in the back to warm up with your club because there'd be like 10-12 different clubs, each having like about 20 gymnasts per club, all like huddled. Half of the people are doing their makeup and hair. There's like parents involved, people are getting changed, equipment's getting like lost, people are scurrying around, you're trying to warm up, you're trying to stretch, you're trying to like drill your skills.
You're stressing me out right now.
And then the lower level competitions were absolute shambles because you wouldn't even get a carpet before you went on to perform. Canterbury strip.
Oh my god, yeah.
You would not get carpet. You'd have to go like right next to the toilets to practice. I remember going into the hallway or outside.
In the corridor. And then you'd like...
Or outside.
You'd be doing your ribbon routine and you'd be flying out the fire exit. But this is... home competitions.
Yeah, well,
The
regionals.
I can't lie to you, like, for example, let's say British,
Yeah.
where the internationals were
No, of
far
course.
better organised. It wasn't like that at all.
No, but because a lot of the comps we did were regionals. That's how we had to. Yeah, that's how we had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And kind of funny looking back. Yeah, nationals had more carpets to practice on, which was nice because you actually got to adjust for space. Like, obviously the carpet wasn't as big or the same material as the carpet that you'd perform on.
Don't even get me started about that.
When they were too slippery, people would just stack.
I stacked it after a jump. I jumped and like my foot slid forward.
Because you wear like something called toe shoes, which have, it depends what ones you get. Do you remember the sock ones that everyone used to be obsessed with? Basically,
it's because you were like,
they're like, they're so weird thinking. I've not thought about toe shoes in so long. They'd be a piece of like leather, I'd say. Usually they were leather.
I have some.
Like, should we whip them out?
Shall we whip them out?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is what toe shoes look like.
This brand was banging.
Yeah. It's very underrated, I think. So sometimes they'd have like a proper leather back, but they'd be like this. You hooked it onto the back. Some people hooked like this on top of their toe. It just depends on preference. I didn't really like it when it like went across your foot. It's like half shoes. It's like half socks, but they're thicker so that your spins, mostly for spins to be honest, and like your toes are pointed and you weren't wearing socks. But when the carpet was really slippery and you had these on, disaster, actual disaster.
We've completely sidetracked off the question though.
Yeah. How my attitude has changed is there's more of a structure to powerlifting competitions in terms of what you do beforehand, because it's not as chaotic. You just warm up your lifts. If you have a coach, your coach gives you like warm up weights that you do pre-lift. You just line up and then you go on and you lift, because it's not as much, it's just one thing that you do to compete in, whereas gymnastics is a whole routine, so it vary day to day depending on what you are more stressed about. Like maybe your ribbon routine was going really badly that week, so you'd focus more on ribbon, like you'd be practicing ribbon right before your like hoop routine. Like Agnesa said, when I got into the environment I was all right because I quite like the pressure. It's not that I like it, I just do better. Like even with exams, we prepare in different ways. Like Agnesa prepares from the get-go, like from the beginning
like
of the
weeks
year
in advance,
and I'll cram the night before and be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine too. It's just that I've thought about this. I've literally never stayed up past like 12 studying for an exam, because if I don't get my sleep before an exam, I stress out more.
I'll go into the exam with like an hour's sleep.
I could never do that. Same as in exam like periods. I can't function like that.
How has your attitude changed?
I would say mine has changed quite a lot. So yeah, as Arena was saying, stressful environments, she can stay calm under them. And I feel like those kind of environments, when there's so much going on, chaotic, it stresses me out more. During my gymnastics, because it was like my life and stuff, like I treated it as my probably main priority, as well as school, obviously. So for me, like these competitions were everything. I was super stressed before them, perhaps a little too stressed for my own good. But whereas now, let's say if I'm doing a calisthenics competition, for me, because I do calisthenics now as like an addition to my life, and I treat it more of like a hobby and a relaxing thing, I'm so far less stressed, and I just try to enjoy it. I think we touched on this briefly in a previous episode about enjoying competitions,
because you competed in both reps and statics for calisthenics. What would you prefer, and do you think there's a reason why?
Guys, these weren't like crazy competitions. These were just like for fun, like
Yeah, but
at
it's
events. But still, yeah,
it still is. You're still competing against other people for a place.
yeah. So the statics one was the first one I did, and that was for me a lot more stressful, simply because it's much harder to, for me at least, control my body when I'm stressed. So like obviously I've got so much adrenaline, caffeine, which was a mistake. And obviously you're like, there's people, a whole crowd watching you try to hold a handstand, and it's like I'm doing my handstand and I'm shaking. That was a lot more stressful. Whereas in the reps comp, the adrenaline kind of helps you, gives you an extra energy boost to finish your reps, and it's like a little bit easier. I maybe enjoyed that one a little bit more just because I felt less stressed. For the calisthenics ones, it's like more I'm competing against myself, whereas I'm not really competing for a place or like a score. I'm just competing to see what's the maximum I can push myself to, especially in like reps, for example.
Yeah, I think it's the same with powerlifting, because realistically you're competing against yourself and how heavy you can lift, because there's only a certain amount better that you can do or worse. Like, you kind of know where everyone's going to place already. It also influences the atmosphere, which is what I was going to add, because in gymnastics you just had an audience and it was mostly parents, and when it wasn't their child, like, obviously your team cheered for you, yes, but
they like cheered for you, but deep down, you know, if you're a parent sitting there watching your child, you're going to want your child to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas sorry, my voice keeps getting stuck. Whereas like powerlifting, like everyone will be cheering, especially on the final lifts on your third attempts, like regardless of who you are, you're grinding that last rep, everyone is cheering. Like
you say, like everyone has their numbers that they want to, well, obviously it's not like set, but like everyone has roughly the numbers they want to get. And so you kind of already know, like, let's say people have like way higher numbers than you. You're going into it knowing, like, realistically, I can't win, but I'm going in it, for example, maybe for a PB or something. And that's a lot, like, it makes it more enjoyable.
It makes it you v you.
Exactly. Now that I'm like reflecting on it, I would say that when you're younger and competing in something like gymnastics, I think it's natural for a child to have the mentality of, oh, I want to win. But as you grow older, and this did happen to me towards my last few competitions, as I was getting older, it was more of a 1v1, like, oh, I want to do well for myself. And I think that was a really positive change in attitude. So I guess I wouldn't say that it was like completely like, I can't really categorize it as gymnastics was like this and stuff. It is about your personal growth. But I would say since we're doing these sports now that we're older, our attitude has definitely shifted. Not only because of the change in sports. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just wanted to ask, do you actually enjoy competing?
Now, yes. It's interesting because in gymnastics, I feel like you had those type of people who loved competitions. Like they'd be so excited for it. And apparently, as kids, according to our parents, we used to like be really excited for competitions. Personally, I don't remember that, but
I think, to be fair, I love competing. I think that's when I stopped gymnastics. I wanted, like, I was looking for things to compete in.
Yeah. Whereas I honestly preferred like the training aspect to it. Competitions, I enjoyed them to an extent. Whereas now I would say I actually do enjoy competing in something like calisthenics.
Yeah.
It's very, very motivating.
What's your strategy for bouncing back if something doesn't go perfectly at a competition? And I think this was more geared towards gymnastics because more things could go wrong. But even with calisthenics.
I'll talk about gymnastics first because I actually have a lot to say about this.
Here we go, another 47 minutes.
Another 47 minutes, guys. So, okay, let me paint a picture to give an example. I feel like that's easier. So, let's just say I've gone out onto the carpet. I've just done my hoop routine, for example, and it's been tragic. Like, I dropped 3 times, didn't hit my elements, whatever.
Elements are like balances, spins, jumps.
Yeah, and I know that I'm gonna get a really bad score for this, but I'm walking off the carpet now. Let's say in half an hour, I have to go compete my next routine, and obviously, there would be times I'm coming off the carpet and I'm not crying, but I feel like I want to cry. I feel like I literally want to go to the bathroom and just cry my eyes out because of how badly I've done. But in that moment, if you let your emotions get the best of you and you go and you cry, I feel like that's so hard to come back from, to prepare yourself for in a few minutes to go out and compete again.
Yeah, also your
and not make
smudged.
It go worse. Yeah,
like, everything's messed up.
It's a mess, but it's actually so tough. So I think the best way to go about that is you have to forget about it and move on. Forget you've just done that. Forget about it. You've got a new routine. It gives you a new opportunity. Fresh start. Literally forget about it, move on, focus on the next. You cannot dwell, you cannot be like there practicing your next equipment, dwelling on how badly you've done. That's the worst way to go about it, because then you're in that state and you'll go onto the carpet in your next routine in that state, and obviously nothing is going to go right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't really think I've cried that much after gymnastics comps. I think there was one nationals I remember coming off crying, but I think that's it. I don't think I was much of a crier, because there were people in the club who you'd be like, oh, she's crying again. Like, not in a rude way, but just that
was me.
That's how people would cope, and that's perfectly, I wouldn't say perfectly valid, but it's a valid response to
it's just an emotional response.
It's an emotional response, but I don't really think I had that much. So, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I think it's just because it didn't really mean that much to me, whereas I've competed like 3 times in powerlifting, and my last comp I was injured, nothing was going well, I just felt horrible and I cried my eyes out, and I think it's because it meant more to me, because it was actually something that I wanted to do, if that makes sense. Like, not in a derogatory way, but it was something that meant more to me than gymnastics did. After it was bench press.
Yeah, but it's because I feel like your preparation was very tough for that competition as well. Being injured, you didn't even know if you were going to compete.
Yeah,
until like a few days before or something.
I kept thinking I was going to drop out of that competition. I'd just gone to see like a physio. I was having scans for my hip. I didn't know what to do in terms of squat. I think my mindset going into it was so uncertain. I couldn't put my all into preparation. My prep was really bad. It wasn't really bad, like, it was going decently actually. But I think just on the day, like, everything caught up to me and my emotions caught up to me. And I think not being able to achieve like bench press, which was the one thing that was certain in my prep, because obviously it's not impacted that much by your hip. Although leg drive, yeah. But I think that just, it messed me up a bit. And you know what, from that moment since, training has not been optimal.
But it just makes you think how important like a mental mindset is, and regardless of like physical factors, how much your mindset and your approach to it actually really impacts your performance.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
If something doesn't go your way in a competition, my best advice from personal experience is don't dwell on it, forget about it, fresh start, fresh mindset, go into it positively, as hard as it may be, because if you go into it negatively, it will get worse from there, and that is the unfortunate reality.
Yeah, and the two events on, and especially with like routines, just because you dropped or messed up one routine doesn't mean the other routine is going to go badly. Like, they're not entirely dependent on each other.
And you can bounce back. You can do a horrible routine, but the next ones, and it's happened to me a few times. First routine I've gone out, I've been awful, and then I've like bounced back with my next few routines and actually like compensate maybe.
Yeah. But I think also, what about more in terms of like post-competition?
Post-competition, I think it's very important to reflect on your competition after every one. Reflect on what went well, what mindset you were in, what maybe didn't work about that. And it's always just about finding new, this is so cliche, but it's about finding new ways for you to deal with mistakes and move on. And honestly, just not dwelling on the past, not thinking, oh, this competition was so bad, my next one is going to be bad too. It's about finding new things that work for yourself and constantly staying in a positive mindset, not letting your fallbacks demotivate you.
I think maybe we switch to the research.
I think that would be wise, because otherwise this will be 3 hours long.
Yes, and my editing is going to take it out of me. Okay, so the first is, apologies for the names, I'm not a scholar, Yerkes Dodson Law. I'll put it up on the screen because it's basically an inverted U curve. So axis, it looks a bit like a mountain or a hill, and it's regarding performance and stress, or in this case they call it arousal. And it kind of it mentions that there's an optimal level of stress where your performance peaks, and then after that it just goes downhill. And interestingly, easier tasks or like easier things have higher limits of stress than harder things, so you can stress more about the easier things before your performance goes down. I kind of just wanted to ask thoughts, opinions, and have you managed to kind of figure out your optimal level of stress? How do you cope with it? What happens if you go over? Etc.
I think that's a very good point and like a perfect research example.
Thanks, Mum.
You do need, forgot to mention, you do need a certain amount of stress in your body.
It stimulates adrenaline.
The adrenaline is going to give more oxygen to your muscles. Everything, your body physically wise, will be more performance ready if you have adrenaline in your system. Let's say like the curve, it's like this, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's say like your adrenaline levels are up. I'm guessing the top is your performance level. Yeah, adrenaline levels on the bottom, right? Or whatever. Stress levels on the bottom.
Arousal on the bottom.
Arousal levels on the x-axis. Performance on the y-axis. Yeah. So yeah, as your stress increases, your performance increases up to a certain point. Yeah, and it's necessary to do well, and it does help you. It gives you like a little kick.
Yeah, it kind of locks you in a bit.
Yeah, but saying that, once you hit a certain why are you sat on the chair like that? Yeah, once you hit that peak, guys, try to stay there, because
hold on for dear life.
Hold on to dear life at the top of that peak. Because once you then overstress is when you're gonna start messing everything up. Your mindset, you're gonna be.
What tips do you have for not getting past that peak? Like
tips, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's all fun and games to say don't cross it. It's kind of obvious, but
my tips is that
it's kind of hard to gauge how not to cross it.
Number one tip I would say is know that stress is good for you in your performance. If you're feeling stressed, know that it's a natural response and it is actually going to help you. Having said that, know also that an excess amount of stress is going to deteriorate your performance. So just keeping that in mind, knowing the science behind it, I feel like keep telling yourself that, and it
even
will
as a 7-year-old.
No, yeah, that's a good point. But at 7 years old, I didn't know this, and I wish someone had actually told me that.
I think, for me, I think what helped was praying helped a lot. Like, just trying to talk through it. It just kind of is along the lines of whether you like meditating or like breath work. I found that kind of slowed my heart rate down a tiny bit when I felt like I was way too stressed.
Literally just breathing through it.
Yeah.
Take the deep breaths.
Deep
Just what?
Deep breaths. Like,
to regulate your heart rate.
Yeah. Try and regulate your heart rate, basically.
Yeah, slow it down a bit. Obviously, you're not like, realistically, you're not gonna breathe your way out of all the adrenaline. So,
no, yeah, of course.
But it will help, like, regulate yourself. Exactly.
Also, I found that with gymnastics, stretching kind of helped because it kind of stopped you moving as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what we used to do, was before we went on, like 1 or 2 minutes before, is literally just stand at the wall, relevant, like on your toes, so you're still in a tight position, muscles are engaged, you're still like performance ready, but you're standing there still, like I'm standing there, I'm staring at the wall, I'm like tunnel visioned in, trying to breathe through it. Coach could be saying something in my ear, I'm listening obviously, but I'm also trying to, like, I didn't realize I wasn't actually speaking to the mic, but I'm standing at the wall and I'm trying to, like, calm myself internally. Honestly, talking to yourself in your head works. Telling yourself, like, this is what I've been preparing for.
Yeah, seeing
I know
it.
I can do it. Visualizing. I think visualizing is actually a really good pre-comp hack.
Yeah, I agree, because it kind of, it puts your mind onto one thing. It stops you from thinking about bad things that may happen because you're visualizing the good. You may speak.
Thank you, miss. No, you actually just rejigged a memory into my head about a performance technique, which may not work for everyone, but certainly worked for me in some competitions, gymnastics wise. And the way I thought about it, right, is imagine your routine is this long tunnel and you're at the start of your tunnel and all you need to do is walk through the tunnel. So, like, it's basically like having tunnel vision, as in you're so locked in. Imagine all you have to do is just go through that tunnel. And that actually helped me a lot on many occasions.
Interesting.
As
I've
in,
never thought about
I
it like
literally visualized a tunnel and myself going through it as I was performing the routine. And before you know it, you've done your routine.
Yeah.
And obviously muscle memory works, so it just went well. Interesting technique for you guys to try if you want.
Off the back of the Yerkes Dodson model, there was different research into secondary models on how to, like, cope with it. And one that came up was the ICC Programme, which is Identification, Control, Correction. It was posed by Hannon and Hanina, and also Glazier and Dans. Again, everything will be linked down below, references if you want to look into the papers. Apparently, this program has been successful in enhancing the performance of Olympic level athletes, and it's basically a 3-stage program to help, I don't even know if it's to mitigate anxiety, but it's just like a framework. Like, you have frameworks in education. So first step is the identification of individual specific optimal movement patterns. So basically what this is where you are to recall retrospectively successful and unsuccessful performances. So you're identifying what's gone wrong, what exactly went wrong, whether that be with visual aid, if that's a video, or if that's someone also describing what happened. And also your associated perception and how you perceived that event. So if you're looking back on a competition, what were your thoughts going through just before you messed up? What were you thinking about, if you can recall? Was it something that happened either earlier in the routine or earlier in the day that then had an onset
Into the mic.
response. That then had an onset response. So the first step is just identifying what went wrong. And this program is more so like post-comp rather than doing it pre-comp. Obviously, it's helpful to have pre-comp, but the more you compete, the more you can then refine this into something that is useful further on. Feel free to add anything as we go if you have any additions.
Yeah, just adding on to that, I think, well, personally, I know that I underestimated the power of re-watching and reanalyzing competition or even training videos.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. You need to, and the funny thing is I have this same problem now, even with the podcast. I find it so difficult to re-watch it and like relive the experience.
It's self-evaluation.
Yeah, but especially if it's like a negative like connotation with it.
Essentially reliving the experience, but
Exactly.
you have to do it to get better, because otherwise you're never going to understand what instigated that mistake or fault.
Yeah, that's something that I need to do more, and I very much underestimated, especially during my gymnastics training, and even now I need to apply more into other aspects of my life.
Second one is control. So control and monitoring of body segment motions. So basically what this means is once you've identified what went wrong or what's gone well, you then deliberately and in steps you practice that motion or that involvement, so that you then, it's just like drill. So once you identify it, you then obviously monitor your progress on that one skill, on that one movement. You do it over and over and over again. And then the third is obviously correction, which is then you have to correct it to repeat it.
Very interesting.
That is also, like, I think it's a good post-comp ritual, and I think if you want to perform better, regardless of what it is, I think it's quite an interesting thing that you can start implementing. I'd always rewatch my videos back as soon as the competition ended, and I think that really helped me, regardless if I failed, because you know what you were feeling because it's straight after, and try and write it down or try and remember it, because when you're rewatching it you understand it a lot better and you can identify it a lot more accurately, rather than if you do it like say a week later, once you've kind of, your stress and anxiety around it has subsided. Yeah, okay, you're not in that kind of highly aroused state but you're then, your memory kind of lacks and doesn't make up for what you need in that moment to identify the points.
Yeah, because your brain will remember things differently over time. But you know, the reason I think I did that was as a form of like detaching from negative experiences. Do you know what I mean? It's like just like putting it in a box and like detaching from it, which is something that I personally need to work on, and I know that. And now that like
there's actual research on it,
it just like reiterates that for me.
The next part of research was how we can reframe pressure and performance. And so this is Uphill, Rosato, Swain, and O'Driscoll. But they basically propose two different states that you're in, and it's when you see something as a challenge or when you see something as a threat, and how you can kind of reframe your mind. Obviously we'll give our input, but I just want to go over the research before we then discuss. Definition wise, a challenge state is when the situation is appraised as self-relevant and the individual also perceives that they have sufficient personal resources to meet or exceed the demands of the task. So where it's relevant and you know that you can do it, essentially. Whereas a threat, as you can imagine, is where the situation is also self-relevant, but the individual perceives that there is insufficient resources to meet the demands of the task. and a challenge state is typically associated with a more efficient cardiovascular pattern and improved appearance, but I think that's meant to say performance because I think I just missed. So essentially the key difference is your self-perception of whether or not you can or can't do it. So it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in my eyes. When you think you can't, the situation then becomes a threat. When you think you can, the situation then becomes a challenge, which then means you can, or which then means you can't. So you kind of lock yourself into a loop depending on what you think, if that makes sense. That's my interpretation of it.
Yeah. There's literally a saying, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
It is true. You just need to build up the self-belief. And I was actually watching, I wouldn't call it a podcast, it was more like a 15-minute video of Layla Hormozi, and she was talking about confidence, and she mentioned that confidence isn't, I don't want to fudge this because what she said was actually really interesting, but I'm going to try rephrase it as much as I can remember. But she mentioned that confidence is the result of your actions rather than a state before your actions, if that makes sense. So confidence comes as, like, when you do something, you then get the confidence for
like
it. So it's like a reaffirming belief. And obviously, like in competitions, when you've got the past week where you've messed up a skill, you're then going to think in your head, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. And you are more likely to focus on the negative than you are on the positive. Like, it's a known thing where your brain concentrates more so on the negative aspects than the positive. You just need to remind yourself, and you need to look back, whether that's videos even, of things when it went right and when you can do that skill, so then you know that you have the capacity to do it again.
Yeah. And you know what struck me in that research is you mentioned the cardiovascular benefits of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I guess it's more so like also your heart rate.
Yeah,
because
self-regulation again.
Your self-regulation, because when you perceive it as a threat, again,
your heart rate, like
your arousal peaks.
Fight or flight response.
Yeah. So another tip that I didn't think I was going to say, but if you have evidence of yourself doing something well, whether that's a really good routine and you're stressed and you've crossed the line into the threat stage, maybe watch that back so that you prove to yourself that you can do it, because it's the evidence that you need.
Yeah.
I just want to get on to what would be helpful to you guys, and it's tips and strategies. I don't know how I've spelt this. Polenters? Who knows? Mentioned strategies for overcoming performance anxiety. First one is mindfulness and relaxation techniques, which is breath work, meditation. Second is positive visualization, which again we covered. Goal setting and reframing. I don't really see this as an immediate strategy pre-comp, but rather maybe like a few days in advance.
Yeah,
or even weeks in advance.
It's more of like a long-term prep.
But goal setting is very important. Having it written down, having steps, like breaking it down into small steps is important. Don't just have a massive goal like, I want to lift. For example purposes, I currently squat like 100 kg. I want to squat 130. Okay, cool, but how are you going to get there? Like, I want to then squat 102.5, 105, like ticking them off as you go. How are you going to get there? What exercises, what accessories are you going to do? How are you going to fuel that? Are you staying in your weight class? Like, can you gain a bit of muscle? Do you have that permissible? If not, then it's going to take a bit longer for you.
Yeah, I think I have something to add on that. That actually just occurred to me. I think maybe a good way of approaching competitions is having a goal, but like you were saying, breaking that goal down into steps. So let's say you've gone into a competition and you've not achieved your main goal, but then once you reflect back on it, you'll probably realise that you've achieved some
like,
small steps
yeah,
of achieving that
70%
goal.
of it, yeah.
And even that is like, you've achieved 70% of that goal. You've improved by that much.
Yeah.
And I think just recognising that, although you may have not like reached that one goal you wanted to, you're so much closer to it now. So it's still progress.
I like that because it's not like a binary way of looking at it. It's not like you've either hit that goal or not. You've progressed into that goal. Like, completed 70% of it. You're closer to getting it than not.
Yeah.
So it's not binary. It's not like zeros and ones. There's
it's like a 0.7.
There's the middle ground as well that you need to consider in that goal. The next is pre-performance techniques, which are basically habits and rituals, which we've discussed, I think, in 2 episodes. Establishing those at a young age, I think, is important. It gives you a basis. It gives you some certainty as well.
It's hard though. It's hard. So like, there's always wiggle room. There's always ways to adapt those habits and adapt those. But yeah, having them like set out like a routine. Obviously, it will change as you develop.
And I think it should change as well.
It definitely should, because you're changing. You're developing as a person, as an athlete.
You understand how you cope with different things better. So don't just stick with a habit just because it was a habit from when you were 5 years old. Change it.
Yeah, improve it.
Not even change it, just improve on it. This is cognitive restructuring, which again is more of a long-term thing. It's just, like we mentioned, like the challenge and threat state. It's reframing how you view stress levels, how you view competitions in general, what you actually want from the competition. Do you want an end result, whether that be like qualification, or do you just want the experience? Do you want confidence in yourself? What purpose do competitions serve you as a person, not anyone else? What do you want it to do for you? And then try and restructure your thinking around it according to that. Next is performance imagery scripts, which is talking yourself through your performance, talking yourself through what you're going to do step by step. So it's like, I'm walking onto the stage, I feel confident, I get into like my starting position for gymnastics, the beat on the music starts, I start like my dance element of my thing, like just talking yourself through the entirety rather than just visualizing, adding words to that, adding a script to the back of it also helps, supposedly.
Maybe just like we were saying, breaking it down, literally writing
but
yourself
like a narrative,
a list of like almost instructions, because it takes away the extra energy needed to scramble for everything. So you've got it, you've got a clear plan to follow it.
The last is seeking professional help.
It's interesting you should say this, because if you're really struggling with it, maybe, and this never even occurred to me until recently, I was just literally just telling Arena that I found out that, like, you know, you can actually do that. You can get like a sports psychologist to help you, guide you through that. Personally, never tried it, but looking back, like, maybe that would have helped me.
Yeah, it could. It just depends what kind of person you are.
Yeah, and obviously, I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but like professional athletes do have that.
They have like club wise, you have like a psychologist, a therapist, someone just to talk you through it, because sport is very much so also a mental game.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the USAY section just to wrap this up, because it's been too long. What we put up on the USAY was, what are some competition habits, rituals, hacks or habits that have helped you lock in? 4 of them said snus.
You know who you are.
Right, guys, we get it. You like your snus. If that resonates with you, take it as you will. Other than that, this one is perfect TED matcha in the green can. So got sent the link. It's just a matcha in a can. So like a drink that you resonate with competition, I'm assuming.
I want to try
something.
that.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of matcha. I'm
Love
one of
it,
those people
love
who
it.
thinks it tastes like
It
soil and grass.
I'm sorry, but people who say it tastes like grass, have you ever eaten grass? It doesn't taste like grass. It's matcha. It's like
You don't need to
tea.
eat grass to know what it tastes like.
I feel like you do.
No, because sen is very much a big component in taste.
Okay, but guys, it doesn't taste like grass. You just put the right stuff in it, make it properly. Sounds like a skill issue if it tastes like grass.
Yeah. Next one is try to be confident, but have some fun with it to help you relax. And you mentioned this in a previous episode where like trying to enjoy it more so than stressing about the outcome helped you a lot with your performance. And I think that also goes back to the confidence being evidence-based. I think you just need to remind yourself of what you can do and just have fun with it, because regardless of the outcome, you know that you can do it.
Yeah,
I think is important.
And reminding yourself of why you actually do it.
Yeah.
What is your personal goal and not anyone else's? Like, is your goal to win, or is your goal to actually have a bit of fun with it? I want to say like cookies.
Yeah. So again, it's like food-wise, maybe you have something that gives you energy.
I get it. Yeah. So it's going to throw me off a bit. Having a certain drink or a certain food.
Also having one that's just reserved for competitions.
You have one. You want to share yours?
Dried mango.
Slaps.
Honestly, the best thing ever. I'll only have it pre-comps. There's just something about it. Fast-acting sugars, great. It's not that detrimental to your health, like regarding sweets and sugar, because it's dried mango, especially if you get like good ones. I actually agree. And reserving it just for competitions kind of looking makes you excited for it. Like, it gives that element something special in a way.
Expanding on that.
Also, Sainsbury's dried mango is the best.
The Forest Feast one?
No. The Forest Feast slaps. It's a good certain, but it's expensive. Sainsbury's one, green packet. I'll put it up on the screen. Guys, it's the best dried mango I've tried. Genuinely, most of them, like most shop flavors, through Forest Feast. This one, nothing compares. I don't know what they add to it.
This episode isn't about dried mango, but I did want to stress the importance of, and I think we should do an episode on this as well. Fueling.
Yeah, I was going to say nutrition.
Fueling before your comp. The next one is breath work, praying, being mindful, and affirmations the morning of. We touched upon this. Yeah, that's like, I think
it's probably the easiest thing going forward. It's the easiest thing to implement immediately.
Yeah.
And it's relatively fast acting because you're just in the moment.
Yeah.
You're there. It's not, you don't need a set of instructions. You don't need any resources or capabilities to implement it. Yeah. It's just you're like breathing, your meditation. If you're religious, then praying. I think the next one is actually praying. Just sitting down, focusing on just relaxation in a way. I can't describe it. It's difficult to describe, but just focusing on that.
Yeah, and I feel like this is something where you can't really go wrong with it if you try it. If you try it, I don't think
it's not going to make you worse. Yeah.
So it's not a win-lose situation. It's like either it helps you or
it's neutral or win.
Yeah, exactly.
Towel on face, which I want to try now that I've seen it.
I would rate that, yeah.
I think it kind of locks you in. It's like facing the wall. Like, because you're void of distractions.
Yeah, and also gives you something. It gives you like a.
It's like a ritual. It's a habit. Yeah. Sensory.
Kind of like sensory distraction, maybe, from like.
Yeah.
Getting out of your head. Absolutely diabolical level of carb stacking. Yeah.
Depends what sport you're in. If you are in a weight class based sport and you need to weigh in morning of, don't, because with carbs you retain a lot of water. But if it's like, for example, athletics, I can imagine that would help a lot.
Yeah.
Long distance running. If you don't need to weigh in and you don't need to be like light to enable movements, carb load, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But severe caffeine abuse and telling myself I'm
rubbish.
You know, if you're a fan of the tough love, go for this one. If you're someone who needs to work yourself up a little bit, I feel like this is it's like whatever works for you, honestly. Personally, if I do that,
I agree with the caffeine abuse though.
Caffeine abuse. Oh,
the last one's quite funny as well, because it relates to caffeine. Drinking so much caffeine that I don't know if I'm shaking from nervousness or an overdose. I think that's a step too far, guys. But caffeine can definitely help. It helps, especially if you're used to drinking it in like not nervous situations, but you then are used to producing an outcome post drinking caffeine.
Yeah.
It's a good like mental switch.
Isn't there that thing where like, especially with like ADHD, caffeine actually helps calm your nervous system?
Probably.
Something like that. That could be false.
Yeah.
Personally, overdosing on caffeine does not work for me, and telling myself I suck does not work for me. But that's just me.
I think obviously it depends person to person, but it could help people who listen. Definitely. I'm one that is not that much affected by caffeine, so it does kind of help me. I like drinking my Monsters.
Your caffeine intake is diabolical.
It's slightly above average.
That's not slight. That's like a week worth of caffeine.
It's 2.5 times above the recommended dose. Do with that what you will. If you want to do the maths, do the maths. But I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to expose myself like that.
You've just exposed yourself.
It doesn't matter. Anyways, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening.
It's been a long one. It has been.
But I think informative. Hopefully you've learned something.
Yeah.
I've learned something.
Yeah. I've reiterated what I've learned.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let us know what you think about the setup. What you want to see as well.
Interested in featuring
Jurassic comment below.
If you have something to say and you think
it's useful,
if you think it will be useful and like in theme with what we're talking about, absolutely drop us a message. We'd love to have you.
Just need to figure out where.
How.
If you guys have any tips, like if you guys know any like workspaces that have soundproof rooms or something like that where you can record. I don't really know.
We any tips on, for example, setup, places, equipment.
Yeah.
Perhaps we were thinking about maybe getting some better mics. Obviously it's a bit tough recording on our phone each week.
Yeah, oh my gosh, guys, that's a whole nother story. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. My stomach's rumbling. I've not eaten because I've just jumped straight onto recording this. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye, Munchkins. We'd love you to vote on which is your favourite. Should we sit on the floor? But okay, no. For the future, actually, you know what? Should we ask them on the Insta where they'd like what they'd like to see? If you're watching on YouTube, do you know what I think we should do? What? We should, you know how people like lodge themselves in between two walls like a pike sit, I think. And just lodge ourselves in. Do you want to see? Firstly, us lodge ourselves between two. What? No, that sounds spooky. We're not. Do you want us to sit here? Oh, like we're just having a chat there. What now? No, I mean next episode.